caused by demigods or distresses that come as natural calamity, So this falls in the category of Adidoivik. And this kind of calamities, all the calamities are actually caused by sinful reactions. Due to sinful reactions comes disease and death. Of course, it is not that those who are pious, they don't die. No, they also face the difficulties, but they don't become affected by that difficulties. Their birth, death, old age, and disease are the natural happenings. Nobody can avoid that. But those who are sinful, they feel the onslaught of these difficulties in a very, very distressful way. Anyway, I'm sure you all are taking advantage of this situation by being very Krishna conscious, taking advantage of this isolation to become more involved in your spiritual activities. So that is how we can take advantage of a situation like this. And Krishna is very kind. Always we must remember, even though sometimes difficulties come, we should always remain fixed up at Krishna's lotus feet. And this kind of situation is giving us the opportunity to remain more fixed up in Krishna consciousness, take advantage of our spiritual life. And that's what is happening. Like some days I'm giving 6 classes every day. And today I'm just, although it's a Monday, and so I have this opportunity to come to you all. And so there are 3 days I'll be speaking. One day today, its topic is Bhisma Dev's passing away, and tomorrow is the prayers of Queen Kunti, and day after tomorrow the topic will be Ajamil's second chance. So these are the ways, these are the opportunities that we take advantage to delve into the scriptures. These anecdotes are not some fairy tales. These anecdotes these are real happenings from the past, and they have been recorded. I mean, when we look at the scriptures, we can see that they are so scientifically presented, and so nobody can have any doubt when he delves into the scriptures properly. Nobody can possibly have any doubt about the authenticity. And time and time again, we try to remind ourselves that such exalted personalities have accepted the scriptures as the absolute truth. So why should we have any doubt? Like, we may not have seen many from the past, but in the recent past we have seen Srila Prabhupada. I mean, I haven't seen anyone like him. So learned, so scholarly, so committed, so expert in everything he did. When Prabhupada accepted the scriptures, not only accepted the scriptures, he actually stayed up through the night translating and giving purpose to the scriptures for the benefit of this world. So when a person like him commits himself to the scriptures and propagation of the scriptures in this way, why should we have any doubt? And before Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, another extremely brilliant luminary. Then Bhakti Vinod Thakur, then what to speak of the Goswamis, what to speak of Narottam Das Thakur, what to speak of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And these are the personalities who have accepted the scriptures. So why can't we? Why should we have any doubt about the authenticity of the scriptures? Anyway, so let's go to the actual topic, Bhishma Dev. Before we come to Bhishma Dev's the way the passing away, how he left his body, just let's discuss about Bhishma Dev, who he is. Is such an illustrious personality. I mean, these personalities. These kind of personalities are rare, even in the most exciting novels and storybooks. Sometimes there is a saying: the facts are more real than fictions. So Bhishma was a son of a king called Shantanu. Now, the story doesn't, or this anecdote doesn't only begin there. It has a past. Bhishma was actually a demigod. There are different types of demigods, like Vasus, Adityas, Rudras, etc. And so he was in the category of Vasus. There are 8 Vasus. Like, for example, there are 8 Vasus, there are 12 Adityas, there are 11 Rudras, there are 7 Rishis, etc. So he was one of the 8 Vasus. So these 8 Vasus were once traveling in their spaceship. And when they're passing through the Earth planet, above the Earth planet, they saw the ashram of Vashishta, a beautiful ashram, and there they noticed one beautiful cow. And this cow was actually the daughter of Surabhi. Surabhi is the cow in Golok Vrindavan, and Surabhi's daughter was in possession of Vashishta, named Nandini. And one of the Vasu's wives wanted to have that cow. And they told that this cow actually belongs to Vashishta, and it won't be proper to try to take her away without his permission. And so she kept on insisting, and finally they stole the cow. Vashishta was not in the ashram at that time, so they took the cow. And when Vashishta came back to his ashram and he saw that Nandini was missing, therefore he sat on meditation, and in meditation he could see what happened in the past, and he cursed the Vasus that the way you behaved, that is not befitting a demigod. So you are not fit to remain in the heavenly planet. You fall down in the earth planet as human beings. When the Vasus got to know about the curse of Vashishta, they immediately came to Vashishta, fell at his feet, begged forgiveness. Then Vashishta said, when the words leave my mouth, they're bound to happen. So all my words cannot be retracted. So since I have said that you will be born as human beings on the earth planet, you have to. But you have to, those who have 7 of you, right after your birth, you will be delivered. You'll just take birth and you will be delivered. But the one who physically stole the cow, he'll have to stay on the earth planet for a long time. So they had to accept that curse. And they thought that how could they take birth in an ordinary woman's womb? So they thought that they would approach Mother Ganga. And like if Ganga becomes their mother, that would probably be a way to kind of be saved from a terrible situation of living in a womb of a woman. Now it leads to another incident. There was a king called, there was this king was elevated to Brahmaloka, the abode of Lord Brahma. And his name was Mahabhish. So King Mahabhish, due to his pious activities, he was elevated not only to the heavenly planet, but beyond heavenly planet, Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and beyond that is Satyaloka, the abode of Lord Brahma. So he was such an exalted personality with heaps of pious activities that he was elevated to Brahmaloka, Satyaloka. And so he was in the assembly of Lord Brahma. So at that time, Mother Ganga came with the water for Brahma's worship of the Lord. And at that time, her sari got misplaced with the wind and her breasts became exposed. And everyone casted their glance down. They looked down. But Mahabhish kept on shamelessly looking at her. And when Brahma noticed that, Brahma said, like, you are not fit to be here. So go down to the earth planet. So Mahabhish was cursed by Brahma in this way to go back to the earth planet, fall down to the earth planet. And he also said, since you desired Ganga, so you'll have Ganga as your wife. So this is another incident that actually took place. And now they wanted Ganga to be their mother. And Ganga now was destined to come and be the wife of Mahabhish when he came to the earth planet. And this Mahabhish actually was reborn as King Shantanu. And so these are the anecdotes of the historical anecdotes, actually, of a specific dynasty. This is the happening in the Moon dynasty, the Kshatriya dynasty that started from Chandradev, Shomdev. And similarly, there is a Sun dynasty which started from Surjadev, Vivashwan. Imang vivashate jogam praptavan ahmodvayam. Vivashwan manavipraho. Vivaswan's son was Manu. Manu's son was Ikshaku. And in this way, this dynasty came. And so this is the record of the Moon dynasty, which started from Somdev, sun god, moon god. And so he appeared in the Moon dynasty as a king of the entire earth planet. And so one day Shantanu, while hunting in the forest, he came across this extremely beautiful woman. And just by seeing her, he fell in love with her. And he approached her and proposed that he wanted to marry her. And she agreed on one condition, that he wouldn't question and stop her from doing anything she wanted to do. So this is how Shantanu, on a condition that Ganga would be his wife, got married to her. And so now Ganga, in due course of time, gave birth to the first child. And right after the birth of the child, she took the child and put her in the Ganges river. In this one after another, 7 children were born, and they were given to the river right after their birth. Now you can see Vashishta's curse to the Basus. One after another, 7 Basus took birth in the womb of Mother Ganges, and right after that, they were delivered. But when the 8th child was born, Shantanu couldn't restrain himself. He just told her, why are you doing this? Like being the mother, how can you kill your children like this right after their birth? So at that time, Ganga said, okay, so since you want this child to be spared, he'll be spared, he will live. But since you broke your vow, your promise was broken, so I'll be leaving you. And she said that I will take the child with me because he'll need my care and nursing. And when the child becomes grown up, I will bring him back to you. So this is how Ganga took this child back to the heavenly planet, and there he was trained up. We can see what an amazing personality Bhishma was. Like he grew up in heavenly planet. He was trained by the guru of the demigods, Brihaspati, in study of the Vedas. He was trained by Shukracharya in studying politics. He was trained by Parashuram, an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the art of using weapons and fighting battles. And then one day, Shantanu was hunting in the forest. He was very fond of hunting. And now that his wife left him, and he was kind of so distressed, he used to spend most of his time just wandering in the forest and hunting. So one day, while he was hunting, he saw that Ganga is not flowing. There was no river, no water in the river Ganges. So he had become curious, and he just tried to find out what was the reason why Ganga is not flowing. And so he came to a point where he saw that one young boy is shooting arrows in such a way that the flow of Ganga has been stopped. And he was curious to know who this boy was. Then Ganga appeared there and told him that this is your son, Devabrata. So this is how Devabrata came back to his father, Shantanu. Both of them became very, very intimate friends. Like they were practically together all the time. And Shantanu was extremely fond of his son. And one day, Shantanu was hunting in the forest. That day, Devabrata was not with him. And he came across one extremely beautiful girl taking the people across the river Ganges in a boat. And he just fell in love with her just after seeing her. So he approached, and the girl said, look, I am just a young girl, and if you want to marry me, then you have to approach my father. And so her father happened to be the king of the fishermen. And there is also another anecdote here. So this girl was not just an ordinary girl. This girl was the daughter of a demigod called Uparichar Vasu. And right after his birth, like his mother, the Vasu mother left when she was one Apsara, and he gave this daughter in the custody of this fisherman. There's another reason, I'm not going to go into that, like why he put that daughter in the custody of this fisherman. And in a very simple atmosphere, she was actually a princess. She was a Gandharva princess, but she was growing up in an atmosphere like that. And so when he went to the fisherman, Dhivaraj, and approached, the father of the girl said that, look, it's a great fortune for me that you want to marry my daughter. But there is a condition that my daughter's son has to become the king. And so Shantanu said, that's not possible because I already have a son. He has already been coronated as the crown prince. And so Shantanu, dejected, just came back. And Devabrata noticed that his father was quite morose and depressed. So he asked what actually happened. And so the father, Shantanu, just declined, saying, no, nothing happened actually. Everything's all right. But he could see that his father was not in his regular jovial, joyful mood. So he asked the chariot driver what actually happened. And from him, he got to know that this was what happened. He approached this girl's father, and the father declined. And the other father wanted to give the daughter on a condition, and he couldn't fulfill that condition because you're already the successor to the throne. Then Devabrata said, okay, so let me take me to that place. So he went and spoke to that fisherman king and asked him. So he just told him the same thing. So he said, okay, if that's the case, then I am relinquishing my claim to the throne. So he then, the fisherman said, fine, but what about your children? Because you may relinquish the throne, or right over the throne, but your children are going to have the claim, and there'll be a family feud and the possibility of family feud. And so then Bhisma actually took that vow that then in that case I won't even get married. I won't have any children. So that was such a terrible vow for a Kshatriya, because for an ascetic who remains away from everything, leads a life in the mode of goodness, for him to abstain from sex life or remain a brahmachari is relatively easy. But a Kshatriya warrior who is so powerful, so virile, and in the midst of such luxurious atmosphere where he is surrounded by so many beautiful women, to maintain such a vow was extremely difficult. Even the demigods started to exclaim, what a terrible vow, what a terrible vow. And that is what the sound was resounding there. There, Bhishma, Bhishma. And that's how he actually got the name Bhishma. And they started to shower flowers on him from the heaven. So this is how Shatavati got married to Shantanu. And he took such a terrible vow. And when his father Shantanu got to know that he has taken such a vow, he blessed him that he will die only when he will want to die. Ichamritu, willful death. Like, with meaning practically you won't die. Only if you want, then only you will die. Otherwise you won't die. So that shows what a brilliant personality he was. Now we can also see the curse. All 7 Basus got delivered right after their birth, but this one not only had to stay in the Earth planet for a long time, now, like as if, his duration, his tenure to stay on the Earth planet has become endless. And anyway, so this is how Bhishma's personality we can see. And so Bhishma, there is one thing, like one wonderful side of his character, that although he was a devotee of Krishna, He was we know that Bhishma Dev is one of the 12 Mahajans, 12 illustrious, exemplary Vaishnavas. But when it came to the battle of Kurukshetra, Bhishma sided with Duryodhana because he was considering that he was so adherent to so committed to religious principles, ethics and morality. He just went according to that. He did not deviate from that. He was not only completely fixed on his vow, he was extremely truthful. He would not deviate because he knew dharma, the principle of dharma, principle of commitment, principle of being truthful. That's why he sided, because the principle of dharma is that when you are subject to a king, you have to abide by the order of the king. So Duryodhana was the king, therefore, and Bhishma was his subject, although his grandfather, but he has the moral obligation to be with the king, and therefore he sided with Duryodhana. Although he saw that Pandavas were virtuous, that practically Pandavas were the epitome of virtue, and Duryodhana was the epitome of sin, still he stuck to them. And later on, at one time, Krishna actually gave one example and told him that truthfulness is good, but the truthfulness should be used with appropriate understanding. Satyam priya, to be truthful, satyam bruyat, priyang bruyat. Speak the truth, but speak the pleasant truth. And Krishna actually gave one example in that respect, that there was a sadhu who was very, very truthful. And one day, some people being chased by the dacoits came to his ashram and told him that the dacoits were chasing them, and so they wanted some shelter. And so he told them to just hide in the forest behind the ashram. And then the dacoits came and they asked the sadhu whether there had been any people like that. And he was so truthful, he told them that yes, they are there. And the dacoits went and plundered them and killed them. And as a result of that, that sadhu, that saintly person, had to go to hell. Because he spoke the truth, no doubt, but he became liable for the death of these people. And that's why he had to go to hell. So this is another thing that Bhishma Dev learned at the end of his life. I'll come to that in due course. So Bhishma actually sided with Duryodhana in the battle of Kurukshetra. And he was the general. And Duryodhana thought that this battle won't last for more than 2 days. Maybe just in one day the battle will be over, because his side was so powerful. Bhishma was there, who is practically immortal. Drona was there, who was practically immortal, because as long as he had a weapon in his hand, nobody could kill him. And then Ashwatthama, also practically immortal. Then Karna, the greatest archer of the world of that time. So, and his army was much stronger than the Pandava armies. They had 11 Akshauhini, whereas the Pandavas had 7 Akshauhini soldiers. So anyway, in that battle, so Duryodhana was always insisting or insulting, not insisting, rather insulting Bhishma, that it is because of your partiality, because of your affection, you're not killing Arjun. And so being insulted in this way, Bhishma just said, okay, tomorrow I'll kill Arjun. And he took a bow, took an arrow, and he said that with this arrow, I'm going to kill Arjun tomorrow. So Duryodhana was very happy because he knew when Bhishma says something, it will happen. Now the spy from the Pandava side went and reported to Yudhishthira Maharaj and Krishna, other Pandavas, that Bhishma has taken a vow like that. So what to do? They were in great anxiety. And if Arjuna is dead, there's no way they could win the battle. So actually Mahabharata is a very, very exciting drama. And so like tomorrow, Bhishma is going to kill Arjuna. So the Yudhishthira Maharaj asked Krishna, what to do? So Krishna said, okay, Arjuna, you come with me. So he took Arjuna and told Arjuna, Arjuna, when you rescued Duryodhana and his family from the Gandharva attack in Dvaitavan, the attack of King Chitrarath, so at that time, Duryodhana actually told you that you could ask him for anything and he would fulfill that. So he said, now is the time. At that time, you didn't want to ask anything from him. So now is the time that you have to ask something. What? So you go to Duryodhana and ask him for his crown for a short while. Just for a while you'll use his crown. And before the daybreak, you can, before the morning, sunrise, you're going to return it to him. So he went, and so this is another thing. Although they're enemies fighting a terrible battle when they're trying to kill each other, but when the battle ended at the sunset, then they all are like normal. They're having sort of favorable exchange among themselves. So he went to Duryodhana's camp. Arjun went. Krishna didn't go. Arjun went. And Duryodhana asked, so Arjun, what happened? What's the matter? So Arjun said, do you remember that you gave you promised that I can ask you for something? And I remember. What do you want? I want your crown just for a short while. And I'll return it to you before sunrise. And so then Krishna took Arjun wearing that crown, and Arjun's voice was identical to Duryodhana's voice. His voice was exactly like Duryodhana's voice. So he, wearing the crown, he went to Bhishma's tent. And Bhishma asked Arjun, what happened? What do you want? So Arjun, Bhishma thought he was Duryodhana. He's wearing the crown in semi-darkness. He didn't recognize him as Arjun. And seeing the crown on his head, Duryodhana's crown, so he thought him to be Duryodhana and asked, so what do you want? So Arjun, speaking like Duryodhana, said that, you see, I'm in great anxiety that you took the vow to kill Arjun tomorrow with a specific arrow. So I'm worried that something may happen to the arrow. So I want this arrow and I want to keep it in my custody. And tomorrow I'll give it to you. So Bhishma thought that Duryodhana is such a scoundrel that he can't even trust him with the arrow. So he said, okay, take the arrow. And so he gave him the arrow. And after that, he realized that it was Krishna's arrangement So that's the time Bhishma actually took a vow that Krishna, just as you made me break my promise, tomorrow I will make you break your promise. Krishna actually took a vow that he won't use any weapon in the battle of Kurukshetra. So the next day, Bhishma fought in such a way that, Arjun was in real difficulty. So seeing Arjun in that difficulty, like as if Arjun was about to be defeated and die. So Krishna jumped out of the chariot. He picked up a wheel of a broken chariot and he charged towards Bhishma. And at that time, as you know, you have seen the picture, Bhishma dropped his weapons and he was, yes, Krishna, kill me. And at that time, Arjun actually was holding on to Krishna's feet. That, please, don't break him. And so this is how it happened. So, isn't facts are stranger than fiction? So this is how the battle went on. And finally, as you know, Krishna actually revealed to the Pandavas that the only way you can prevent Bhishma is by putting Shikhandi. So there is another history to that. Let me see how much time I have. I'll try to quickly tell about Shikhandi's episode also. Through Satyavati, King Shantanu got two sons, Vichitravirja and Chitranga and Vichitravirja. So Chitranga died in a battle with a Gandharva king whose name also was Chitrangad. And so he died prematurely in a battle. So Vichitravirja became the king. Now, a king has to have a queen. So Bhishma considered the suitable queen for Vichitravirja are the three daughters of Kashiraj, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika. So these three daughters of Kashiraj were extremely beautiful and extremely talented. They were actually the incarnation of Durga, Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika. And so he went to the Swayamvara. The Kshatriya girls, princes, could select their own husbands. So Bhishma went where all the princes and kings assembled to win these three daughters of Kashiraj in marriage. So Bhishma went there and he declared his identity, and he suggested that he is claiming these three girls for his brother Vichitravirja, who is the king of the Hastinapur, and saying that he took these three girls into his chariot. And all the other kings and princes with the soldiers attacked. Bhishma single-handedly defeated all of them and brought these three girls. And the eldest of them, Amba, told him that she already gave her heart to Shalva, another king. And Shalva, in that attack, when they attacked, Shalva was defeated by Bhishma, like all the other kings and princes. And so when Bhishma heard that she already gave her heart to Shalva, so Bhishma said, okay, so you go to Shalva, that's all right. But when she went to Shalva, Shalva refused to accept her. He said, am I a beggar that somebody is just giving me something in alms? Yo, come take it. So this is the pride of a Kshatriya. So although he was dying to marry Amba, But here, when she came, he refused because his pride was hurt, and as a Kshatriya warrior. So then Amba went back to Hastinapur and told Bhishma what happened. So Bhishma said, look, what to do? And so then she said, look, you have to marry me. And Bhishma said, look, I took a vow of lifelong celibacy, so I'm not going to marry you. So then she said that when you took me in the chariot, you took me by my hand. So by my hand, taking my hand, you actually accepted me as your wife. So I am your wife in that way. But Bhishma refused. Then Amba went to her grandfather, was an ascetic, left his kingdom, and he was living in the forest as an ascetic. So she took shelter with shedding tears. And so her grandfather said, okay, I am a friend of Bhishma's guru, Parashuram, so I will request him to tell Bhishma to accept you. And so he went and spoke to Parashuram. Parashuram said, yes, sure, I'll do something about it. So Parashuram proposed to Bhishma. Bhishma said, look, I've taken a vow of lifelong celibacy. So he said, look, I'm your guru, I'm telling you, so you can actually break that vow, break that promise. So Bhishma would not. So Parshuram became so upset. Bhishma actually even told that, if a guru rapi abaliptasa, karja karjang achanata, utpatha pratibannasa, parittaga vidhyate. When a guru doesn't know what to do and what not to do, karja karjam ajanata, utpatha pratibannasa, this way when he actually falls down from his position, that guru should be rejected. And Parshuram became furious. So he challenged him in a battle, and both of them fought for a long, long time. Parshuram couldn't defeat Bhishma. And so finally, Brahma came and stopped them from fighting. So Amba now became so heartbroken, and she is also a Kshatriya woman, extremely revengeful. So she entered into fire, gave up her body, with an intense desire to be the cause of Bhishma's death. As a woman, she could not kill Bhishma, but she wanted to be the cause of Bhishma's death. And this Amba came as the son of King Drupad, Draupadi's brother, came as Draupadi's brother as Shikhandi. Now Bhishma knew that Shikhandi in his previous birth was a woman. Therefore, Krishna suggested that Arjun, you take Shikhandi in your chariot, and Bhishma will not throw any weapon, or he will not also resist your onslaught because of Shikhandi. And so that is how actually Krishna advised. And being advised by Krishna, Arjun took Shikhandi on his chariot, and like Shikhandi was driving the chariot that day, Bhishma dropped his weapon, stopped to fight, and Arjun started to shoot arrows in such a way that his entire body was pierced with arrows. And not only, that arrows went through the body and came out from the other side. And finally, Bhishma actually fell on the bed of arrows. Still, he didn't die. He remained in the bed of arrows for 58 days, waiting for the sun to move on the northern direction, Uttarayan. Because during the Uttarayan, when one leaves his body, he goes to the higher planetary systems. So Bhishma, and the battle of Kurukshetra was over, and Bhishma was lying in the bed of arrows, and Krishna, and along with the Pandavas, went to see Bhishma. And so that is the last part when they saw Bhishma and Krishna. Bhishma was some beautiful incident also took place at that time. That he was lying in the bed of arrows and looking at Krishna. He recalled all the wonderful happenings, recognized, started to pray to Krishna, revealing his identity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then I selected a few verses, translation of a few other verses. I'll just read them out as Bhishma's wonderful prayers. This is from the first canto, chapter 9, text 32. Bhishma Dev said, "Let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which was so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created. Although he is the creator of the material world, he comes to the material world for the sake of his devotee. Sri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamal tree. His body attracts everyone in 3 planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp be the object of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results. On the battlefield, where Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised from the hoofs of the horses. And because of his labor, bits of sweat wetted his face. All these decorations, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go unto him, Sri Krishna. When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him and the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. Fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran towards me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord, Sri Krishna, now present before me, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart. Even in the hearts of the mental speculators, he is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. So these prayers of Bhishma Dev before leaving this planet were so wonderful. So today I'll end here, and if anybody has a question, please feel free to ask. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. So please, devotees, if you have a question, please raise your hand in your participants window, and you'll be able to ask your question to Guru Maharaj. So we have a question from Sumit Prabhu. Sumit Prabhu, you can ask your question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dhanavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I always had this question. I was wondering if you're able to answer it. We understand that the Bhisma Panchak occurs towards the end of Kartik. And I don't know if I've misunderstood, but I thought this was the last 5 days of when Bhishma Dev was on earth.
Yeah. Actually, on that day, the 8th day, Bhishma actually left his body. And then it goes on for 5 days until the Dwadasi. These are the 5 days that, because Bhishma didn't have anyone to do Tarpan or, for his kind of like Anteshti Kriya, posthumous activity, which is conducted by the son. Therefore, all the devotees on behalf of Bhishma conduct that.
What I was trying to understand was the chronological order, because Bhishma Panchak is towards the end of Kartik, which we normally observe, say, October, November, but then Gita Jayanti is end of December?
Yeah, well...
I can never understand how the... Yeah.
That's a good question, yeah. So, and also chronologically the date was given is not actually in Kartik. It is on the 8th day. So then, in that case, we have to understand that on that auspicious day, that is actually conducted. Like, it's a very good question, actually. So I also have to do some research.
Sorry, thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you for hearing me.
We have Rasa Raj Prabhu who's got a question.
Maybe just take it in the small, let all the devotees be shown in the screen so that I can see them. You can take me off the main screen.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see. Can you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, just take it from the main screen. Put it on let everybody be on the screen.
Yes, everybody's on the screen, Maharaj.
No, it's not that. You are in the screen. You are taking up the main screen. That's why it was suggested let Krishna Kishore do it. He knows how to do that.
Sure. Let me do that, Maharaj.
He can suggest. Anyway, carry on. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. So that's the difference between karma mishra bhakta and shuddha bhakta, a pure devotee and a mixed devotee. So this is how Bhishma, in this respect, is not treated as a pure devotee, shuddha bhakta, because a shuddha bhakta considers that Krishna is everything and doesn't have any other consideration. See, anyway, the scripture actually is showing, different personalities, adhering to different aspects of the Vedic principles. So Bhishma is actually adherent to the morality and dharma. But Krishna is saying, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Bhishma couldn't give up his adherence to dharma. And that's why there is a difference between Bhishma here and a pure devotee. Hare Krishna.
The next one is Kanchanabja Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj greets and humble obeisances. Hare Krishna, Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj,
your voice is very low. Like you do something about here.
Can you hear me now, Guru Maharaj?
A little better, but
okay, maybe. Okay, is that better?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj, I was just going to ask about Bhishma Dev. Did he make a mistake by? My question was, did he make a mistake by sticking with the Kaurav side, or was it more Krishna's arrangement that he's on the Kaurav side to bring out Krishna's glory?
Yeah. Well, like ultimately everything is by Krishna's arrangement. So especially his pastimes are his divine arrangements. So we had, and pastimes are like a drama. Different actors are playing different roles. So here they are playing different roles. And
thank you, Guru.
Can you tell him how to guide it? Like I want all the screens should be there. Everyone on the screen. Okay, that's better. Okay, yeah, Hare Krishna. Haribol Sanjeev, Haribol Sundarananda Prabhu. So, Hare Krishna. So happy to see all of you.
Hare Krishna, I'm so happy to see you. Maharaj, it's so nice to hear your voice, and the class was brilliant. Can we ask a couple of questions, one from my wife and one from myself?
Yeah, sure.
So I'll read out my wife's question first. What happens and who comes to take them, and where they are carried when the following die? First one is pure devotee. Second one is a Mishra Bhakta. Third is a pious materialist. And fourth is the atheist materialist.
Oh, well, okay. So the pure devotees are also of two types. Those who are following Vaidhi Bhakti, those who follow Vaidhi Bhakti, they go to Vaikuntha. And those who follow Raganuga Bhakti, they go to Golok, Vrindavan. So that is the destination of a devotee. Then the next is, as you said, Karma Mishra Bhaktas. The Karma Mishra Bhaktas, their destinations are generally heavenly planets. Because their karma means they want the results of their activities, the fruits of their activities. And they enjoy the fruits of their activities in the heavenly planets. Jnana Mishra Bhaktas, they go to the planets like Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka, even higher than heaven. And then those who are like pious, mundane activities, their destination is actually heavenly planets. But they also can remain on the earth planet if they want to enjoy here. Either, if they have heaps of piety, they go to heavenly planets. And if they're not that pious, they remain in the earth planet. And those who are sinful, they go to lower planetary systems, hellish planets.
And Maharaj, I was just going to ask that Bhishma Dev was, when he was speaking to Yudhishthira and giving all the knowledge which Krishna wanted him to give, he fully was well versed in the Vedic knowledge and the fact that he recognized Supreme Personality of Godhead. How could he then not, at the time of the battle or before, differentiate between his Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma?
Very good point. That reminds me of an anecdote in relation to that. Is that, you see, when Bhishma Dev was instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj about the principle of morality, and so Bhishma Dev noticed that there was a little smile in Draupadi's face. So he asked Draupadi, "What happened? Why are you smiling?" So Draupadi said, "Where was all your wisdom when they were insulting me in an assembly where you were present. So Bhishma Dev's answer was that those days I was eating the food given by Duryodhana. And that's why at that time my blood became contaminated, eating that contaminated food. But now all those bloods have been drained out of my body. And now my consciousness has become purified.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So, Lavanya Mataji.
Raj? Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
My question is, what's the lesson we can learn from Bhishma, this character?
Well, all the great personalities have so many great qualities. Like, he's a epitome. He is a wonderful example of virtue, truthful, adherent to his commitments, completely straight, upright, and compassionate, merciful, affectionate, in spite of being such a great warrior. So these are the things, not only from Bhishma Dev, all these personalities from scriptures. These are the qualities we can learn.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
We have a question from Anil Sharma.
Yeah, okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, my question, I don't know if it's relevant or not, but I want to know what is the difference between self-respect, pride, and ego?
Self-respect, pride, and ego. Well, ego is a substance, you see, a subtle substance. Just like mind is a substance through which the consciousness flows to us through the body, through the senses. And so it's a subtle element. And false ego, which is called ahankar, is also a substance that creates the impression of misconception of identifying the body to be the self. It is due to the false ego that we think that this body is me, and everything in relation to the body is mine. So that is for ego or false ego. And self-respect, when one, it's simply the word itself is signifying that. Self-respect, respect is in one's own self. And pride is becoming, thinking oneself to be great because of his possessions and achievements. Okay.
So pride and the ego are somewhat similar, or are they different?
Well, it may seem similar to you, but as I said, like false ego is a substance, a subtle substance, whereas pride is not a substance, but pride is actually a mental state. Mind feels proud. You get it? Whereas false ego is a substance that makes you feel that your body is yourself. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we have Vrinda Vilasini Mataji. Please go ahead, ask your question.
Vrinda Vilasini.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Yeah, unmute. Huh?
Yeah.
Dandavat Pranam Guru Maharaj. You may have already answered this already, but I was just wondering, when we're reading Bhishma Dev, when he leaves it, Krishna gives him darshan of his four-armed form. So is that to do with what you were explaining earlier on, that the Vedic bhakti people have different destinations. So, I mean, it's obviously very auspicious to still have Krishna's darshan. But is that to do with like not going to Goloka, Vrindavan and Vaikuntha?
Yeah, we went to Vaikuntha. Went to Vaikuntha seeing Krishna's four-armed form. All right.
But why not two-armed form, Guru Maharaj?
Because he did not come across Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Not in a Rupanrita. Okay. Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
I can elaborate a little bit here. The way to have entrance to Vrindavan is through Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti means to become a follower of one of the residents of Vrindavan who are loving devotees. Rag means love. These devotees have only love for Krishna. The residents of Vrindavan, all they have is love for Krishna. Like they don't care for anything else. Like they don't care whether Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead or not. Their mood is that we can't help but loving you. So that is what makes them the Ragatmika Bhaktas. And Anuga means to follow. When one follows one of these Ragatmika Bhaktas, then he gets entrance to Vrindavan. So that's why this Vrindavan Braja Bhakti or entrance to Vrindavan is so rare. And so those who did not get that opportunity to understand or develop a relationship with the residents of Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan, they cannot enter into it. That's how rare it is. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and made it available to everyone. Because he came with the mood of Srimati Radharani. So those who are following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are following Srimati Radharani. And this is how they are becoming Raganuga Bhaktas. And they are having access to Vrindavan. Right? This good fortune has been created by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this good fortune has been distributed by Srila Prabhupada all over the world. That's why everyone all over the world are having an access to.
The last couple of questions, Guru Maharaj. Priti Mataji has a question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Please tumble the base and say the glory to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
So nice to see you after a long time. Meet little Divya Radhika.
How is she doing?
She's doing fine. Let's say Hare Krishna Maharaj. She's just having a meal time now.
I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah, I had to listen to a class online while I'm trying to feed her as well. So she's getting some mercy as well. Yeah. The question we had was with obviously Bhisma and the Amba pastime. So was Bhisma wrong in not accepting Amba? How are we to understand what would have been the correct, thing? Which should have he taken her and broken his vow, and obviously having a battle with his Guru Maharaj, is not something which is normally acceptable. So I just wanted to understand, what we can learn from this.
That shows that he took a vow and he won't deviate from that vow. No matter what. Even if his Guru tells him to he will listen to that because he's so adherent.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, the sound's going. Oh. Sorry, I can hear you now. Yeah, the sound went. I don't know if everybody else's went. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm saying that.
Yeah.
I hope I understood your question properly. The question why he rejected Amba even though his spiritual master was asked.
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
the thing is that he was so adherent to his vow. Because he considered that request from the Guru was not appropriate.
Right.
Okay. And besides that, Parashuram was his Astra Guru. He was not his, he taught him how to use weapons, but he was not his guru in that sense. But anyway, the point actually was that when he is saying, Guru is telling, no, you break your vow, and I'm telling you. So he would not listen to that, because he considered that to adhere to his vow is more important than anything else. Similarly, his stepmother, Satyavati, when Vichitravirja died, then Satyavati actually told Bhishma to procreate in order to maintain the family line. But even then, Bhishma wouldn't listen to that. For her sake, he actually took that vow. And now she is telling that you break the vow. For my sake, you took the vow. I am telling you. But Bhishma would not listen. So that is one noble character of Bhishma. Priti, you have to unmute. You have to unmute
Yeah, I was just wondering, is that a case of perhaps too much pride, especially when the person that he's vowed for said, it's okay? Is that a case of, does that egoistic come into it or not? Or is that something which is admirable?
From one angle, it is admirable, because he's so fixed on his words, right? He's so fixed on truthfulness. That is the consideration. But then Bhishma is missing out one point. The ultimate point is, for the sake of Krishna, for the sake of our devotion to Krishna, we can give up anything. That is the that is the bottom line. That's the ultimate point. That is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita. And now I'm giving classes on Uddhav Gita, and this point is becoming more and more clear and sublime. That which is Krishna telling in Bhagavad? Sarva dharman parityajya. You are adhering to dharma, right? But give up that dharma. Sarva dharman parityajya. Surrender unto me. All these consideration of dharma is not important. Surrender to me is what really matters. Thank you, Priti.
Thank you, Maharaj. I really appreciate that answer. Yeah, remember that. That's me.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Hare Krishna.
We've got Shobana asking a question.
Okay, I'll take I'll take two more questions because I have to give another class in 10 minutes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Chaitanya, and this is my wife, Shobana.
Haribol.
I have two questions. So the first question is, if you're a devotee of Krishna and you believe in Bhakti Yoga and that is what you're practicing, when you leave this body, where do you go? Do you go to Vaikuntha and become one with Krishna, or do you go to Goloka Vrindavan? That's my first question.
Okay, so see, first of all, going back to Godhead doesn't depend upon us and our endeavor. It's entirely up to Krishna. So devotee doesn't demand that because I have become a devotee, you have to take me back to Godhead, right? The devotee's mode is, I am surrendered to you. You do whatever you want to do with me. Just like does a good servant demand from the master, or he is submissive to the master's desire, right? So that's the first consideration. And as I mentioned, there are two types of devotion. One type of devotion is following the rules and regulations of the scriptures. That's called Vaidhi Bhakti. And the other kind of devotion is simply based on love of the heart. So following the rules and regulation when one executes devotional service he goes to Vaikuntha. And when one develops that intense love for Krishna, then one goes to Vrindavan. All right? Okay, so that is the thing. And as you asked, becomes one with Krishna. No. Even in Vaikuntha, one doesn't become one with Krishna. Devotee always maintains his identity. Like, if the servant becomes one with the master, can the servant serve the Lord?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So in order to serve, you have to maintain your separate identity.
Okay.
So that is.
Thank you. My second question is, in your daily practices, how do you develop that love for Krishna ongoingly? Because we all get caught up with our day-to-day activities and what we call this Maya. We're looking to work on your profession, your career, your financial requirements. So what practices can you follow?
Yeah. See, the thing is that how do you develop love? By following a devotee who has love for Krishna. Right? That is the way you develop your love. Right? So that is the practice that is necessary in that. So follow a devotee who has genuine love for Krishna, and then you will develop that love. All right.
So are there any specific practices you can do on a daily basis apart from chanting the Hare Krishna mantra?
And that is it. The only practice is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram. Which means Krishna, I love you, Krishna, I love you, Krishna, I love you, and besides you, I do not know anyone.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bhava. Okay, I'll take another question maybe. You have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I've got another question from Leelashwari Mataji. Unmute.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Maharaj, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. My question is about half-day upavas, half-day fasting, about Ardhavela upavas.
What happened?
A few days back, we observed Gadadhar Pandit's upavas, fasting. My question is, can we offer our Guru Maharaj in morning bhoga? Because my Guru Maharaj is also fasting for up to 12 p.m.
See, when you offer bhoga to your Guru Maharaj doesn't just eat it straight away. Guru Maharaj actually offers it to Krishna. You offer it to Guru Maharaj, your Guru Maharaj will offer it to Krishna. So that with that understanding, you can offer.
After offering, we offer Mahaprasad to Guru Maharaj in the altar. Then
you ask Guru Maharaj what he would like to do. Generally, when everyone is fasting, your Guru Maharaj also will fast.
Then should we offer Mahaprasad to our Guru Maharaj in picture?
You don't offer like that. You offer you don't offer in that way. As I said, like if everybody is fasting, your Guru Maharaj is also fasting. Yeah. If you're offering prasad, Mahaprasad to your Guru Maharaj, then it's different from offering. When you're offering through your Guru Maharaj to Krishna, that is the offering. Here you're actually offering prasad to your Guru Maharaj. So that's why I'm saying that when the whole society is fasting, your Guru Maharaj also is fasting. So don't offer it. Okay. Thank you. Krishna. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And I'll come back again tomorrow.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for your time.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya.